Hello and welcome to this week's lesson. This current week we will be talking about one particular topic. We'll actually be reviewing it since you've seen it before, and it is called the rule of law. So you can see here on the first slide I have a law book and then also a picture of a king. So what we're going to be looking at is that kind of conflict between what the laws say and what that person or rule of person like a king would say. So let's go ahead and get started. So our topic goals or our objectives for today, you're going to be able to define rule of law, explain the role of government and citizens in the rule of law, and you'll also be able to discuss the importance of the rule of law. And our standards for today are 5.1 CC and 5.1 CD. So the essential questions, remember these are not questions for you to answer and submit, but they are questions that you should be thinking of and kind of responding to in your own mind as we continue through this lesson. So the questions for today, what is the rule of law and how does it benefit society? So when it comes to rule of law, it's all about who is in charge. So there's two different types of items that can be in charge. So under rule of law, it's going to be the actual written law that is in charge or making decisions. When it comes to the rule of man, it's going to be the person in charge, such as the king, who is going to be making all of the decisions. So you might be asking yourself, but wait a minute, we have a president. Aren't they in charge? Aren't they technically rule of man like a king? Well, technically, yes, our president is in charge, but there are some differences between a president and a king. So our president does have a lot of power. He is seen as the leader of the United States, but again, there are some differences. For example, kings usually stay in their position until they die, whereas a president is actually elected by the people every 4 years. Kings can be kings for as long as they want, but presidents only have a total of 8 years or 2 terms to be able to make a difference. Kings have the ability to do whatever they want, even if it goes against a law they made. However, if a president breaks the law, he will get in trouble and he'll end up in jail just like you or I. And that's why we have the rule of law. Because even the leaders and the people with power can get in trouble, and we can make sure that we are safeguarding ourselves from a corrupt or overpowering government. So an example, imagine I made a rule in live class saying no one can chew gum while they're talking on the microphone. If our class used the rule of law, that means I wouldn't be able to chew gum either, even though I'm the teacher. But if we used the rule of man, that means I would be able to chew gum, but all of you would not. And that wouldn't be very fair, now would it? And that's why we have rule of law, because it's more fair for all. So why do we use the rule of law in other terms, more specific ways? Well, we use it for a lot of reasons. First of all, it makes sure that individuals can't become too powerful and take too much of the control themselves. It also makes it so that everyone, even people like the government, soldiers, and police officers, have to follow the law or they too will get in trouble. They too will go to court, have a trial, and could be sent to jail if found guilty. And lastly, it makes it so we have order in our society and not a lot of chaos. If we're all held to the same standard, if we're all held to the same rules, it's easier to make sure that there's fairness. So, does everyone actually follow the rule of law? Not always. When laws aren't followed, the people who break them need to get in trouble, or else the rule of law really doesn't work. And if they don't get in trouble, someone is not doing a good job of protecting the rule of law. So, for example, if a police officer breaks the law, let's say they do something criminal, and then they are not tried for that crime, then we're technically breaking the rule of law. We're not upholding it. So, if you need anything, Oops, sorry about that. That was Mr. Simmons' information. Let's put mine in there. So remember, if you need anything, if you're still confused by the rule of law, you can contact me. My phone number and my email are both there. But remember, the main thing about rule of law, it applies to everyone, regardless of your position. So go ahead, try out our activity, and then move on to our next topic.